The surfacing material known as laminate has been part of our surroundings for decades. Yet most people don't know about the product that is found virtually everywhere. HPDL, high-pressure decorative laminate, is made by saturating sheets of decorative and core paper with resins, then pressing them under high heat, fusing the layers into a single sheet. Surprisingly, a sheet of laminate is only 30% resin. The rest is actually paper. The end result? A durable, versatile material produced in state-of-the-art facilities in Temple, Texas and Fletcher, North Carolina. High-pressure decorative laminate from Wilsonart. This is how we make it.
This is the area where we add melamine resin for the surface of the laminate to increase the scratch and scuff resistance of the product. Melamine is a part of the product that's on the very top surface. It enhances the scratch and scuff resistance of the laminate, and it improves the overall clarity of the laminate and the look and the durability of the product. Melamine resin is a liquid that's made from crystals, and it's also used for things like the very hard plastic plates and cups that you can buy in the store. It's that same type of material, but it's made into a liquid form to put on top of the paper. So as we go look at the treaters, you're going to see big rolls of overlay paper, very thin. It just has to be a melamine carrier. You just need something to carry the resin to put on the final product. This is what we use to treat melamine on, and it looks kind of like tissue paper. It goes through a series of tension rollers. The rolls are very big. It's a very slow-moving process, only between 170 and 200 feet a minute. We coat the paper with resin. It goes through a series of ovens to dry it. And then out the other end to make the final product. Wilsonart also has a process we call EON, which adds additional grit to the surface of the product. This allows for better scratch and scuff resistance than standard laminates. We use it on all of our premium laminates. Today, with Wilsonart's EON technology, you can use any of our finishes on any surface that you choose. Next, we have to sheet, which is to cut all of our decorative papers separate from our melamine, because the melamine is going to give it the scratch and scuff resistance on the surface, but you still have to have the decorative paper to put this with. The decorative paper is where the design is added to give you the enhanced look that you're looking for in laminate. It could be a wood grain, it could be an abstract, but it's printed on a white base paper, again with the decorative surface printed on there, and then the melamine surface is layered on top of that. Our decorative papers come from all over the world, and they come in large rolls, and we have to still cut those to the correct length that we're needing to make laminate out of it, whether it's 8 foot, 10 foot, or 12 foot long. All right, so now let's look at the storage racks. This is where we store all of our paper. We can't treat and sheet every different pattern and SKU every single day. So we have a storage facility with 4,000 locations. Then they can either put them up when they're sheeted or treated, or they can pull material for the assembly department just like they need it. If they need 1 sheet or 30 sheets, they have to pull that exact number. And then the third thing they do is that the press has a bad sheet. The employee stops what he's doing, gets the replacement sheet, gives it to the operator to replace inside the process. So as you go into the assembly area, this is where they actually do marry those parts together. And they add the melamine to the decorative surface. And the one thing that makes Wilsonart unique is we can make 1 sheet at any time on any run, along with multiple textures, patterns, and thicknesses. These are the processes that make Wilsonart a world-class company and be able to respond to the customer's needs.
If you were to split laminate in half, obviously you have the decorative side, the design portion. The area through the phenolic/core stock department is where we build up those layers using craft paper. Craft paper is what depicts the thickness of the laminate depending on how many layers that you use. So when you're talking about core, this can also relate to the thicker you go, the more impact resistance that you get. So every layer that you add, the thicker or the more impact resistance that you would get with that particular type of laminate.
Now as we proceed into the area here, this is where...
As we enter to the craft phenolic area, you'll see that the large rolls that are in inventory average about 3,500 pounds in weight. So they're extremely large for this particular process. The reason being is the phenolic treaters are designed to run at a very high speed. On average, they run about 400 to 500 feet per minute, but they can actually run much faster than that if need be. As the paper is unwound, on the way it goes through a variety of tension rollers before it actually hits the phenolic coating system, a patented process which is actually a bath filled with phenolic resin. At that point, the paper comes in contact, is saturated, then fed into the oven, where it's then dried. That paper actually floats through each one of those zones in the oven at a particular type of temperature. Once it exits the oven and is cooled, then that paper is then rewound back on a large spool and then transferred over to an area where it's cut and then ready for assembly. Phenolic resins are a resin system that we use. It's a binding agent. It actually works to where it binds the layers of craft paper together as well as binds with the melamine resins that come from the decorative side of the laminate. So once pressed under pressure, all the resins flow and then bind together in the final stage. For those that do not know what phenolic is, it's also a petroleum-based product that comes from the same family of chemicals that are used in over-the-counter medications to treat sore throats.
When it runs into the press is actually going to melt it together with the heat, the high pressure. Actually, that's why we call it the high pressure laminate.
The pressing department is, to me, the core of the business. It's where we actually take the raw materials from the deco side and the core side, and we press it together. When I first started, we used to use a paper finish or foil to set off different finishes. Now we use texture plates. We are the only laminate company that has a plate plant in North America. And it's a big advantage to us because we can rework our plates as needed. The majority of our finishes are a matte look, but we can do anything from an etched wood grain finish to an etched granite finish, as well as other stone looks. What we do is we put the plate down first, and then we'll end up throwing the pattern down. On top of that, we'll put the core, then we'll reverse it with the pattern, put a plate on top of that. Between each plate is actually 2 sheets of laminate that is getting produced. We do that 8 times, and that creates 1 sandwich. And we do that 24 times per press. And at the end of the day or end of the hour, we end up producing a run of laminate. When you put it in the press, the high pressure that we're using and the heat that we're using will actually create a bond where it liquefies and melts the resin to create the thin sheet of laminate. And it's a lot of heat. You use somewhere around 300 degrees of steam to start the high pressure laminate doing its thing to get the bonding that you need. So when it comes out, it's thin laminate.
What they'll do is they'll look at all this. This is one finished pattern through here.
The sanding department is our final inspection area. You're going to sand it down to the size it is. So you'll trim off the front and the sides and run it through the sanders. As it runs through the sanders, it goes through the pattern identification system, which stamps the information on the back side of the sheet. It'll put the Wilsonart logo and all kinds of information from the sander operator to what press it came onto. That's a good tool in case we need to follow back up to identify any quality issues.
This commitment to quality is what has made Wilsonart a leader in high-pressure decorative laminate for more than 50 years. And as our product ships to thousands of customers, both domestic and international, we credit the innovation, processes, and especially the people who make this possible every single day.